This is OwlUp, where learning happens in minutes, not hours. For a deeper journey, explore all our courses at owlup.co. Now, let's dive in. Chapter 3 of The Science of Running. What happens to your body when you run? The heart of a runner. In this chapter, you'll learn: describe how the cardiovascular system supports running performance. Let's dive in. Mid-race, your heart is quietly breaking a rule of everyday biology. It's getting stronger while it's working the hardest. One organ, pulsing faster than a crowded nightclub, deciding in real time how far, how fast, and how safely you can go, long before your legs protest. On an easy run, your heart might feel like background noise. In reality, it's the most responsive coach you own. With every change in pace, hill, or headwind, it quietly adjusts how hard it works. Faster, slower, stronger beats, to keep your muscles supplied and your brain convinced you're still safe to continue. That moment when a conversational jog suddenly feels like a grind? Often, your heart rate has slipped into a higher zone before you consciously notice. Over weeks and months, those tiny shifts carve a training fingerprint into your cardiovascular system. A lower resting pulse, calmer beats between intervals, and a quicker calming down after you stop. Today, we're going to treat those numbers on your watch not as random data, but as a language your heart is using to tell you how fit, how recovered, and how ready you really are. As that language of beats and numbers unfolds over months, your actual heart muscle is reshaping itself. Endurance training can enlarge the left ventricle and weave denser capillary networks through your muscles, so each beat sends out a richer, more efficient pulse of blood. On paper, this might look like a simple drop in resting heart rate, but inside, valves, vessels, and electrical signals are all refining their timing like a well-practiced orchestra. The bonus? These same changes that help you finish a tempo run also lower your long-term risk of heart disease and sudden cardiac events. On a heart monitor, a run looks like a jagged skyline. Sharp rises for hills, plateaus for steady efforts, sudden drops when you hit the stop button. Hidden in that skyline are three big stories: how much blood you can move, how efficiently you move it, and how gracefully you recover. First, capacity. During a hard run, your heart rate and stroke volume combine into cardiac output, how many liters of blood you're pushing each minute. Two runners can both sit at 170 BPM, but if one moves more blood per beat, they're effectively stronger at the same number. That's why a higher max heart rate doesn't equal better fitness. What matters is how much useful work you can do at each heart rate, and how long you can stay there before you fade. Second, efficiency. At a given pace, a better trained runner usually logs a lower heart rate because each beat accomplishes more. Over months, that efficiency often shows up as subtle shifts. The same loop at 150 BPM instead of 160, or the same heart rate but 15 to 20 seconds faster per kilometer. That's functional fitness, not just a lower resting number. Heart rate zones help you organize this. Broadly, easy aerobic work, around 60 to 75% of max, builds durability and volume. Tempo and threshold efforts, roughly 80 to 90%, raise the ceiling where your breathing gets labored but sustainable. Short intervals near max are there to sharpen, not to carry the bulk of your weekly mileage. You don't need perfect lab-derived zones. Consistency in how you define and use them matters more than precision to the nearest beat. Where this becomes a dashboard is in the deviations. An unusually high heart rate for a familiar easy pace can signal heat, dehydration, lack of sleep, or oncoming illness. A heart rate that refuses to rise with effort, despite heavy legs, can indicate deep fatigue. Morning resting heart rate that drifts up and stays up for several days is another red flag that recovery is lagging behind training. On the upside, improved heart rate variability, those tiny differences between beats, often accompanies better recovery and resilience. You'll feel that not as a number, but as easier breathing, smoother acceleration when you decide to speed up, and a sense that your all-day pace is quietly getting faster. The real power isn't in any single run, but in patterns across weeks. Which routes, paces, sleep habits, and stress levels consistently give you the steadiest, most economical heartbeat for the speed you're running. Those heart stories show up in ordinary runs. On a long, relaxed weekend outing, notice how your beats stabilize after the first 10 to 15 minutes. That plateau is your cardiovascular system settling into a sustainable deal between speed and fuel costs. During a fartlek or hill session, each surge is like a mini stress test. Your peak isn't what matters most. It's how predictably your heart climbs with effort, then glides back toward baseline on the float. Use your resting number as a quiet background thread. If it's normally 62 and, after a month of consistent mileage and decent sleep, it's hanging around 57 to 58, that's a sign you're likely doing the right amount of work, not just more work. Pair that with how you feel on stairs or walking quickly. If those everyday efforts feel easier while your watch reports similar or slightly lower heart rates, your training is transferring into real life. Over time, you're looking for coherence, effort, pace, breathing, and pulse all telling roughly the same story, even as the details evolve. A quieter pulse isn't just about fitness, it often hints at broader resilience. Runners typically show better blood pressure profiles, friendlier cholesterol patterns, and a lower chance of sudden cardiac events as the years stack up. Think of each easy jog as a small deposit into a longevity account, compounding over decades. And as sensors sharpen, your watch won't only pace you, it may one day flag subtle rhythm issues early enough to change the whole arc of your running life. Treat your runs as ongoing fieldwork on your own heart. Some days the data will look messy. Stress, heat, or life will blur the lines. Stay curious. Over seasons, those squiggly graphs trace a story of capacity, restraint, and recovery that no one else can write, and the real payoff shows up in how easily you move through the rest of your life. Before next week, ask yourself, 1. On my next run, when the effort starts to bite, what exact words do I want to say to myself instead of, I can't, and how will I remember to use them at that moment? 2. Looking at my current training, where am I chasing numbers, pace, mileage, races, at the expense of why I started running in the first place, and what's one concrete tweak I can make this week to bring the joy or curiosity back, like swapping one workout for an easy, no-watch run. 3. The next time I feel that heart of a runner moment, like choosing to keep going up a hill or finishing a run in the rain, how will I pause afterward to notice what that says about who I am beyond running? This was OwlUp, your daily step forward. To keep learning with structured courses and more insights, go to owlup.co. Until tomorrow!